Mm.
Sekou, you describe in this book that you were suicidal, that
Yes.
your life, that you had gotten to the place where you thought life was not worth it anymore. And you are such a good writer, and you take us into this experience where you were about to take your life.
Yes. Yes. So this is what happened. What happened is I discovered this piece of writing as I was moving around the house, my mom's house.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dreamleapers. I'm your host, Harriette Cole, and this is a very special interview that we're going to have today. I'm going to be talking to someone who has been on the journey with me with this program since I started. Since the very first episode that we ever aired of Dreamleapers in the studio in Brooklyn at WBAI Radio, our guest was with me in that studio on that day. And this is also special because there probably are many different things that are celebrated each month, but two things that are celebrated this month are things that we will be able to talk about with our guests. In honor of National Stroke Awareness Month and National Mental Health Awareness Month, today we're speaking with someone who honors resilience with his entire being. I want you to help me welcome Sekou Writes. He is a multifaceted journalist, author, speaker, and two-time stroke survivor. Before championing a hemorrhagic stroke that utterly changed his life, Sekou was a contributor to a variety of major publications, including Essence, Ebony, and more, and he served as the editor-in-chief at Uptown Magazine. He is also the founder of Simply Rides, an automotive magazine. Aside from his journalistic and editorial ventures, Sekou used his writing skills to edit and contribute to a number of books in the early 2000s, until most recently when he published his very own in 2023. Sekou's Hack Your Pain Now, inspired by his experience in battling mental health issues, guides readers on how to navigate emotional challenges. Over the course of his career, themes of healing, resilience, and perseverance have been constant. Sekou is well known for his astonishing performance in a New York City marathon just 4 months after his stroke. He also hosts the podcast Get Rich 101, which sows seeds of personal growth, financial empowerment, and mental well-being. Sekou has never quit pursuing his dreams, even when things got rough. And today, he will share more with us about what keeps him going. Please join me in welcoming Sekou Writes.
Wow, what an intro. What an intro.
Well, look, and I've known you for so long. I could have gone on and on and on and on just to tell folks. I mean, we have a lot of history. Sekou was running my company when I was pregnant and then when I had my daughter. And so that was, she is now 21. So just for context.
You know what? Just as a reminder, I've had complete, what's that word when you forget everything?
Amnesia.
I've had complete amnesia. And so just you bringing that up brought up memories for me. I was remembering you being pregnant and me helping you and me telling you to keep her hot. Oh my goodness. That just scared me. Oh,
you just remember that? Okay, wait, I have to tell that story. This is a good story, you guys. So look, I had a baby. I'm running my company. When she was little, even though we had a lovely woman, Miss Cheryl, who took care of her in the beginning, I had to keep her with me. So she would be in the office with me and Sekou, and we are busy as ever.
And Harriette would be like, you got to watch the baby. I'm here, watch the baby? That's not my part of my job description? Oh, my goodness.
And one time, see, people who have had babies know all kinds of weird things can happen to your body. Yeah. So one of the weird things that happened is I started getting just the weirdest neck pain. It was like like I couldn't move my neck. So I had to get physical therapy. So this is where this happened. I went to get physical therapy, and I like say, "Cool, I need you to hold the baby while I'm having physical therapy."
I
And
was
he's
panicked.
like, "What?"
I was panicked. I was, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
And so it was winter because I
Yeah.
had her in November.
Yeah.
So it's winter. She's a newborn. She's really, really young.
Yeah.
And so it was the thing that we used back then was called the baby Bjorn. And so you kind of strap the baby.
Yeah, the whole thing on me.
So
On
Sekou
me.
had on a coat. She had on a coat. We are
Yeah.
now inside of an office, and he's
Yeah.
sitting in the waiting room while I'm getting this treatment. And when I come out, Sekou is sweating.
Sweating. I'm sweating from buckets.
The baby is sound asleep. She is so happy and peaceful.
But she's still sweating though. Sweating.
But
Her hair still plastered to her head.
And so what happened was Sekou said to me, "You got to keep her hot. If you keep her hot, she'll stay asleep."
You got to keep her hot. After that, I was keeping her hot all the time from that point forward, all the time.
Oh, that's a good one. I'm so glad you remember.
Yeah, I just remember. It just popped in my head just now when you said working for you while you're pregnant. That just popped in my head. Oh my goodness, that's funny.
It's amazing too. What triggers memories, and so now you had the stroke in 2022, right?
Yes, I had the main stroke in July 14th, 2022. I believe that was the secondary. And when I went in for that stroke, well, these things came out over time, but it eventually came out much later that I had survived a stroke earlier than that one. So the big one we knew about was July, but there was a previous stroke that I didn't even feel. But
right.
Yeah, so I had 2 strokes,
which is just amazing. And you and 2 other very close friends of mine had strokes within a short space of time. Yeah. And we always think that it's going to happen to somebody else, whatever it is. That's going to happen to somebody else. We do count our blessings for all of the great things that are happening, all the protections that we have in our life. But I think most people make the false assumption that, well, whatever these awful things are that happen to people are going to happen to somebody else until they happen to you.
Yes, for sure.
And Sekou, I'm curious what you remember, but I'm going to set this up a little bit for when you did have the very significant stroke. Just like everybody else, you were working. Working, and I think you were speaking at a graduation.
I was mid-speech. I was doing the commencement at Fisk University, and I was standing up speaking to all these parents about their kids. This was for younger kids, and they couldn't hear me. Well, I guess they could hear me, but I wasn't making a translation. No, I got a lot of weird looks. And I was like, all right, I'm not sure what's happening now. But then Persephone, I'm trying to get her name. Well, I'll just call her Persephone. That's her first name. Persephone.
Yep.
She stepped in to take over me. She went up to the microphone and took over me. And I was like, all right. So I came to the pulpit and I was standing next to her. I was like, what was happening there? And then we broke, and I went and I sat in the windowsill, and she says that there was a bottle of water next to me, not mine, but a bottle of water spilled and was getting me wet. Like a whole bottle of water was getting wet, and I didn't feel it. I don't even remember it. But said I did not react to the bottle of water hitting me, and that's really when it happened. I got up to walk outside and get air, and I never made it. I never made it out to get air. Next thing I knew, I was in a hospital, just like that.
Well, what I remember, and so I mentioned to everybody who's tuned in, Sekou and I met when he came to work with me at my company. And then we worked on lots of things together. We worked on Uptown Magazine together, and then I left, and then you stepped into that bigger role. And in the job that you were working on with me when you had the stroke was Kahila, which is an online business that supports, at the time, it was supporting women in corporate America to reach their highest potential. Now it's men and women. And I was the director of programming, and you were doing all of the production for all these broadcasts that we were doing. And so the morning after your stroke, I didn't know this at the time, you were supposed to be producing a live broadcast, and you didn't show up. And I've known you how many years? Never, ever, ever, ever. You are not the person who doesn't show up. Right. You did not show up. I was in a panic because I knew you were, I think you were in, I don't know whether you were in Nashville or not, but
I was in Nashville then. I was in Nashville.
Right? You were in Nashville. And so I know your mom is there. And I thought, oh my goodness, did something happen to your mom? But if it had, you would have called me and said something happened to your mom. And then after a bit, I realized it had to be that something happened to you, because there was no other answer. And so, if you know people, I'm saying this, but saying to all of you who are tuned in, if you know how your people are, how they behave, and what, how they do things, and they're not doing something that it's just something's completely out of character, then you need to figure out how to find them.
Right.
Because it means something's wrong.
Yeah, it means something's wrong. So I just want to backtrack a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, backtrack and fast forward, because the stroke that I had, and you pronounced it well, and I have trouble with it,
hemorrhagic
stroke. That stroke, when I got to New York, months later, got to New York, I met a doctor who said something like, we're glad to see you alive. And I was like, that's interesting.
Right.
And then I just laughed it off and kept on moving. But later on, I said, what were you laughing about? What's funny about me walking? He said, yeah, you shouldn't be alive. And I said, what? And he said that if 100 people caught this disease, 100 people caught this type of stroke, 83 people would die within 4 weeks. And only 17% would walk away. 17%. So I was shocked by that. Again, layers of information. It came much later than before I last time I talked to you. But I did not know that. And so these layers and layers and layers and layers happen to me as if it's happening to someone else.
Right. And, I want to share another thing that I often talk about, the balance of humanity and technology, and how when the combo is right, it's just perfect. And when it's not, then all kinds of things happen. So how I found out that you had a stroke was through social media. And this is something I want to tell everybody who's listening: get the contact information for your friends in case of emergency, because you may have their information, but if you don't know how to reach their mama, their spouse, their significant other, their best friend, then what happens? So again, I'm worried. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what to do.
Right.
And I'm looking around on social media. I can't figure it out. One of your friends who was local, who knew about me but did not know me, found me on social media.
Wow.
Found a small group of us, found each other through social media. And when that occurred, we then were able to reach your mother. Wow. But it was social media that made it possible for us to find you. And it's really it's all of our fault. So listen, folks, get the cell phone number and email address of the people you love, of their loved ones.
Yes.
Do it today.
Yes,
It is
sure.
do it today because things happen all the time. And I mean, I'm just so grateful that all of your friends were resourceful and we figured out how to find one another because it was not a given. I just want to remind folks, this is Dreamleapers with Harriette Cole. We are talking with Sekou Writes, and look, this is National Stroke Awareness Month. There are so many people of every age who are struck by this condition, I guess if it is called a condition. And I was just at a doctor's appointment today, and my doctor said, you want to do everything you can now so that if you can avoid having a stroke, you do, because it's tough.
It is
surviving,
tough.
Right?
It is tough. Very tough. Very tough.
So one of the things that happened with you, Sekou, I don't know whether you remember this, but in the early days,
this what we're talking about, I now have safety. That's a new thing. Safety right there.
What is it?
All my contact information, all my in case of emergency information. I put that in the app and put it the very top thing on my phone. And that was a reaction to what happened to me.
Excellent. I'm so glad that you did that. And we all need to do this. That we need to figure out how to stay connected and other people to be able to be connected to the folks who are important in our lives in case of emergency. Why do they say in case of emergency? Because emergencies happen for all kinds of reasons all the time. And you don't want to be caught out alone.
Right.
And you don't have to be caught out alone if you just think ahead and make it easy for people to be able to connect to you. So I'm going to go back to technology again for a moment, because early days, there was this small group of people who were really being, is it cheerled or cheerleaded by Fee King?
Yes.
Look, and I didn't know Fee, and suddenly here's this woman. She's like, I'm taking over in the best possible way. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to help Sekou. This is what we're going to do. And there was a small group of us who were talking to each other every day, trying to support you in whatever way we could. And you wanted your phone. And the folks who were on the ground with you were like, oh, I don't think we should give him his phone yet. And you were getting mad because you weren't being given your phone.
Yeah.
And then at a certain point, you just took the phone.
Right.
And do you remember what your experience was of communicating in those early days?
Yeah, just getting my cat out the way. Yes, I remember, because at some point I realized that there was something that I needed. I didn't know what, but there was something that I needed from the people around me. And then I got to the point where I understood it was a phone. I understood it. And I was like, I need my phone. And I asked my friend. Now, mind you, I didn't have a speaking voice then.
Right.
My articulations were very elementary at best. And I was trying happenstance then that I wanted my phone. And he was like, I don't know. I don't know. And he would talk to my mom, and they would talk to each other. I was like, what's the big deal? I mean, in
your mind.
Yeah. Like, what's the big deal? But I got that phone. Eventually I got that phone, and it scared me. It scared me. Like, I've got it, and I was like, what is this? And I threw it on the bed, and I just left it on the bed. It would ring, it would beep, it would do all these things. But those things were on the other side of amnesia for me. I understood it, but I didn't understand why I was making all these noises, why I was doing all these things. It was ringing. I saw calls coming through. I just ignored it. Like, it terrified me. It really did. And people don't understand that. Like, why you didn't call me back? Because I was scared. Like, I was scared of the phone. And so that was a really hard thing for me to get past. And also I found areas where I tried to text you, and the letters and numbers were just like, I was like, wow.
Well, this is what I was getting at. When you had enough awareness to know you can write on this thing and communicate, you attempted to communicate with me.
Mm-hmm.
And context, we would talk to prior to stroke, we talked to each other every day because we were working on stuff.
Yep.
So yeah, like, okay, Sekou is writing to me, and I received what you wrote, and it didn't make any sense.
None.
It wasn't like there might be a word and then it was gobbledygook. And I said, oh. And then you were writing to the folks at Kahila. And I was like, no, this is not good. This is not good. So then I called your mama and I said, you got to get that phone back from him. He can't have the phone. We had to bring you, and you were so mad. But it out of care and protection for you, we had the phone taken away for a while. But all of this, I just want people to understand. You hear Sekou now, and he sounds great.
Yeah, thank you.
And I want you to address the fact that it's still a struggle. But those early days, aphasia is a condition that many people have after stroke when the thoughts and the words don't connect. Isn't that right?
Yes, it happens to me every day. It happens to me every day. Now, right now, like since this interview has been going on right now. So what happens is there's a break between me thinking it and it reaching my mouth. And so there's this break, and I'm trying to make it shorter and shorter, but it's always going like this. It's always going like this. And so I try to make my sentences small, but there are lots of times when I don't speak. Lots of times when I would usually speak, where I don't, because I'm like, I can't get it myself together. And that's just something that I deal with every day. And my show has helped me. So I do the show, and I call it Get Rich 101. And I talk every day, 5 days a week. And that practice has been what has helped me get to this point, just to this point. Because if I hadn't been doing that show, my vocals would be crazy now. They'd be.
And so everybody has different things that motivate them. I know for you, motivation is having a goal, and it's usually some outsized goal, because you don't have to have a show to practice talking, but you have to have a show to practice talking.
You know what? I'll tell you this. I did not want to do the show. I did not know that there was a show. My mom was watching me, and I was like, that looks like me. She said, it is you. It's like, that's you on TV. I was like, I'm on TV? Like, I had to completely disconnected. So there was that. And then I didn't want to get on it. I just wanted to watch it. I just wanted to watch myself. And then Rev Melissa was like, you got to do your show after the stroke, after the marathon, to let people know what happened. I was like, all right, just to let people know what happened. But then she said, keep doing the show. And I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. And she kept saying it, keep doing the show. And ultimately, I did, because she kept pestering me about it. And that's what got me into the habit of speaking to a show. And that's how it happened.
It's fascinating. You know, it's so important to have people surrounding you who are cheerleading you, who can see past whatever the roadblocks are and push you. I mean, we all need that support. Yeah. And you have had that support consistently. Now, for folks who don't know, Sekou had this show before the stroke. Yes. And remember, I mentioned when I started Dreamleapers, I don't even remember how many years it's been now, but a long time ago now. Yeah. When I started Dreamleapers, this show at WBAI, you would come, and you really were my personal producer. We had the producer there, but you were my producer, and you were there with me in the radio station every Sunday. That's when it aired originally. And then after a while, you decided to have your own show, which you began through Reverend Melissa's network, correct?
Well, someone else's network.
Okay.
But, shout out to New Thought Media Network and Reverend Brez.
There you go. Yeah. And what a blessing that this Christian-based network kept you on. Yes. After, because that in the early days, I remember watching, and you could see aphasia at work. You would be speaking, and there would be lapses, and it was very difficult. And I give them a lot of credit for keeping that space for you.
Yes.
Even when you were struggling.
Yes, because as I said, I was enjoying watching me, and just watching me. and that was enough. And I was like, how am I talking about so many things at once? I was amazed at how much what I was doing. But then after the marathon, people wanted to hear from me, and I tried to communicate as best I could what happened during the marathon. But then I didn't want to talk anymore. I didn't want to talk anymore because I wanted it to be fixed. I wanted to go get fixed and then turn around to address everyone. But that has not been the case. That has never been the case. If I had done that, my vocals would be crazy right now. They'd be crazy.
So I want to look back in time for a moment, because you had gone through a huge emotional chasm,
Mm-hmm.
and you went back to live with your mom and to kind of heal from, the end of a relationship that was very, 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 very difficult for you. And as I remember it, like you wouldn't talk about it. And I talked to you almost every day, and you would not talk. Like this was off limits. But what you did after whatever happened that you didn't talk about, you changed your life. You stopped drinking alcohol. You stopped eating meat. And you started running every day.
Every day.
Suddenly, we see Sekou, because you had gotten to, like most of us in so-called middle age, you gotten a little healthy.
Real punchy.
Yeah. What they used to call healthy, which is not necessarily healthy, right? You had a little extra meat on your bones, right?
I did.
And then at a certain point, you told me that you were able to fit the high school clothes that were in your closet from when you grew up.
School clothes around my mom's house. I was like, I can fit this? Oh my goodness. Example onto my wardrobe. Yeah, it was great.
I mean, it was an amazing thing to see you transform yourself with consistency. Yeah. And you made this commitment to run at least 1 mile per day, every day, like the post office, no matter what the weather.
Now, that was also a story. What happened was I started running. And then, social media, once again, the more you talk about certain things, the more it gives you that same brand of things. So it started feeding me stuff about Black men running. And it became Black Men Run. And I was like, Black Men Run? They're doing what I do. So I just showed up one day. I didn't RSVP. I didn't check off any boxes. I just showed up one day. And I do not forget, I was fully dressed in like camisole. No, not the camisole, but what's that?
Like a
thing?
hoodie or t-shirt?
Yes, a hoodie. I showed up in a hoodie, and they were all in shorts. And I was like, they're gonna be cold. Those boys took off. We went up here, and we made a right turn, and they were all gone. I was like, oh my goodness. So I held on for as long as I could. Then I ran back to the beginning, and that was my first experience with Black Men Run. And I just didn't quit, because the local guy who ran the chapter, Demetrius Short, called me and was like, "Don't quit, don't quit. I know you were out there. You were out there with the best of the best. Don't quit." And I didn't quit. And through that group, I learned about a run streak. And I was like, a run streak? I learned it from this guy who was on day 900. And I was like, day 900 of what? Of what? He was like, 900 days of running every day. And I was like, oh my goodness. So yeah, I learned about this technique from him. And
then you had been running for how many days before the stroke?
Like, I don't know, but
it was, so I can tell you it was more than 400.
409. 409 days. 409 days. That's the placard that I'm going to use for my first annual race. I'm gonna do it this July. I'm gonna try to get the same date. I'm gonna do it this July. I'm gonna get people to get out and run. But day 409 was a day.
Wow. Hey guys, this is Dreamleapers with Harriette Cole. We're talking with Sekou Writes. He is telling us his story, and all I know is when you hear a story like this of resilience, of, stick-to-itiveness, it is inspiring to me, and I hope that it is inspiring to all of you as well, because I want to go now to a deeper level with this, because there are things I didn't know. I used to talk to you all the time, and this is something for everybody to really check. If your loved ones don't tell you things, you can't make them. So that's just a fact. You can be there and be supportive, but if people do not want you to know what's going on in their life, you may not be able to figure it out. I just read your book, Hack Your Pain Now. That's what it's called, right?
Hack Your Pain Now. Check it out.
And first of all, I think you need to put a different kind of description of it so people really know what it's about, because I didn't understand. But Sekou, you describe in this book that you were suicidal, that your life, that you had gotten to the place where you thought life was not worth it anymore. And you are such a good writer, and you take us into this experience where you were about to take your life.
Yes. So this is what happened. What happened is I discovered this piece of writing as I was moving around the house, my mom's house, just trying to find something to read. I found something to read and could not read it. I could not read it. I planned a day around this, to get into bed, curl up, read this book. Could not read it.
And this is pre-stroke, everybody. This is pre-stroke.
No, this happened post-stroke.
Oh, okay.
So
all right.
I went to find a book because they moved the bed downstairs for me. They made all these accolades for me. I was like, all right, I'm going to lay in the bed and read. And I could not read. And that scared me more than anything. I mean, an author, a journalist, I can't read. I was mortified. So there's that. And then I started thinking, oh, you got to try. You got to try. And so I found this stack of papers, and it was much less intimidating than the full-size book. Right? So I'm going to read a little bit of this page, and a little bit of this page, and a little bit of this page. And then that came out as a book that I had written. Like, I didn't even know I had written it. I didn't even know I had written it.
That's what was pre-stroke. This book that you had written beforehand.
Yeah, this book. I found it, and it said, "Do not publish, private," all over it. I was like, "What is this? What is this I'm reading?" And then it helped me when I got to the point where I could understand what it was telling me to do. It helped me, someone who was suffering from a stroke, a deadly stroke. Like, it helped me. I was like, if it helped me, there's got to be other people it can help. And so I decided to publish the book, everything. I just published everything together. And I'm just now finding out that, it's all together. The strokes, the commandments, and the introduction were all together, where they were supposed to be separate. I put them together because I was like, I'm trying to publish it, just go. And that's what came out.
And so what has come out when you read this book? It is a little book, but it is packed with a deep honesty. Yeah. And you describe, obviously you were here, you did not take your life. You were in the process of saving somebody else who was about to take his life. You saved your own.
I mean,
and these, what you call commandments, are really very simple, but simple is often difficult actions to take to survive, to stay alive if you're in a space like that. And while, people who are tuned in may or may not feel as vulnerable as taking your life, there may be some who do. But as I read it, I think for anyone who is in a vulnerable position, who it's a tender moment, there's something has occurred that is making them doubt themselves, it's making them question their value, is hurting their heart. You give some very pointed recommendations for what to do.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of those recommendations. Where would you like to start?
I'd like to start with smile. Smile is a small word, but it means so much. And I was telling a story recently. I was telling a story in the book club meeting that I have going on right now for this book. My very first book club meeting. Very excited.
Great.
So anyway, I took that smile with me to a local chapter of a medical center. And I came in with a smile and had my smile going because I was like, I don't know how to do what it is I'm tasked with doing. Like I can't even remember what it was. It was something I had to get some paperwork and get. I didn't understand because my mind was still off kilter. But I came in there and smiled, and I smiled and I smiled and I smiled throughout everything. And now the people at that place are still my friends. They are my friends. Like, hey man, I saw you jogging the other day. Hey man, they are talking to me because of that instant smile that I had. That is gone now, right? It's gone now. But for so long, I kept that smile of trying to power my way through whatever thing was facing me. That I kept my smile, and that changed their attitude towards me, and that made a huge difference. Made a huge difference in terms of getting what I needed medically.
One of the things that you write in the chapter entitled Smile is before you get out of the bed, force yourself to smile. Yeah. And you even say, and I love this because you are speaking to people at different levels. Like if you cannot muster a smile, you're like, you're crazy, I'm not doing it. You say, take a pen and put it in your mouth. Yes. And if you put it in your mouth sideways, it makes you smile. It pulls your lips so that you have to smile.
Yeah, and it has the neurological response of setting off your neurotransmitters that give you the feeling of a smile, right?
I just thought that was so brilliant. And I wanted to share with you, my mother just recently passed away at 95. And in the last couple of months, it was very tender time. She was failing, her mind was not failing, but her body was failing. And sometimes she was in pain. So my mother never complained. I don't remember her complaining in my whole life. Wow. She didn't complain when she was in the bed and they had to turn her. And if you can't turn yourself, then you start getting things happening. Your body starts deteriorating. She was in pain. She never complained. Wow. Which is amazing. Just that in of itself, she never complained. She would even thank the people who were turning her when it hurt and said, I'm sorry if I'm crying because it hurts. I mean, it's amazing. But my mother had a magnetic smile. And she smiled every day, even during the darkest days. And there was a woman, her name is Kim, who is one of the nurses' aides, I guess, who works at the assisted living place where my mother was. And she would come in the room. She had a lot of energy. And she'd say, come on, mama. Everybody called my mother mama. Come on, mama. Give me that smile. And it didn't matter what my mother was feeling like. She would pull it out. And it was this big, beautiful smile that was authentic. Wow. She was able to go into her soul and draw out the smile. And when I read this chapter in your book about smiling, it made me think of her because in the depths of pain, she accessed a real smile. It wasn't, it was from the soul.
Yes. That's lovely. That's lovely. And shout out to your mom. Shout out to your mom for doing that. Because I noticed her smile every time I came into a room and she smiled. I was like, is she smiling at me? Like, who is she smiling at? But she was smiling at me. And that always gave me a boost. She always gave me a boost. And I just want to point out that the difference between the introduction and the smile, the commandments, is stark. Like, what happened to me? What happened to me as I tried to end my life? It reads to me in my mind as a movie over here, separate from over here. Because when I tell you that my mind post-stroke is different, is much different than it was pre-stroke. It's much different. Like the amnesia wiped out everything. And so I found that piece, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting that I thought that. Oh, it's interesting that I tried that. Oh, that's interesting that I got this message. But I thought as a window into another dimension, another world. But I tell you, that movie, as it were, it's very gripping. It's very gripping and beautiful to me, because I was reading, like, this happened last week. I read the chapter on audio, and I was like, the first sentence, I was like, oh, I had to stop it. I had to stop it and rewind it. I was like, whoa, I didn't realize.
It's intense. It is intense. And, it's intense for me. I didn't know. Yeah. I did not know that you were contemplating taking your life. I didn't know that. I talk to you all the time. That's why I'm going back to, this is National Mental Health Awareness Month, as well as National Stroke Awareness Month. And for everyone in earshot, if you are suffering, if you think life is not worth it, if you think you can't overcome whatever your pain is, whatever the reason, please reach out for help.
Yes.
We all have moments, I believe all, if not most of us, have moments when we doubt ourselves, when we don't know if we can overcome whatever obstacles are before us. And sometimes you can just feel so tired or frustrated or afraid that, is it worth it? That question comes up for people. And just know that it is possible to push past that. One of the chapters that you have in your book, and it was funny, as I was reading it, I was thinking of something that I told you. And then in the book you say, and Harriette Cole told me that. It was so funny. And I learned it from my mother and my grandmother and my father. It's about service. And I learned that my mother would tell me this whenever I was down, whenever I was frustrated. She would say, do something to help somebody else. Do something in service. If you are really feeling out of it, just get out of your head. Do something for somebody else. And I told that to you one day. Tell that story.
I was like, I'm good. I'm fine. I was giving money for my bracelet sales. For those of you that don't know, I used to make bracelets, and I would sell them, and I would give away a portion to feed the homeless, do something good. I was like, I'm good. I'm you see me doing with all that stuff.
Yeah, you were like, later for that.
Yeah, I was like, later for that. That's enough. But then this was in Nashville too. I was in Nashville, and I heard them asking for volunteers. And I said, well, let me just volunteer. And that one volunteer changed everything. It was me working with 10 homeless men and working with them, and it was incredible. That's all I can say without going way over. It was incredible. It was very, very incredible.
Well, and so one of the things that Sekou did after volunteering to really not just go in for one day to help these men, but really to be a support to them and to open his eyes and see them and listen to them. And he started something that he called the Hero Movement, and that's a shirt he has on, and really celebrating people who were downtrodden, who had lost everything, who were what they now say unhoused.
Yes.
I mean, just imagine if you go from whatever your life was like, and then you don't have a place to live.
Yes.
And that is.
There's so many stories, but let me just tell one, because I just got to get a little bit. So there was this man who came in with this frenzied energy, and I was nervous. I'd never done anything like this. I'd never worked with the homeless before. I'd never, I was feeling kind of.
Go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, so he talked to me about what happened to him, and he had survived a hurricane. The hurricane just happened in Nashville, and I remember looking out the window, and I remember the sky being green. I was like, "Oh, that's spooky. The sky's being green."
Right.
But that's it. That's it, though. That's all that happened from our perspective.
Right.
But this man who said he was at the eye of the hurricane, he heard you hear what sounds like a train when you're that close. It sounds like a freight train, and he heard that and was thrown around, and all he just blew my mind. And he said he was praying for death as he was being tossed around. He was praying for death, and he said, "I didn't get my death, but I'm here now. So what do I do now?" He's asking me, and I was like, I don't know. Hold on, bro. Hold on. I don't know. But I talked to him all night. And so much of what I've done since then has been my answer to him. My answer is, you got to help yourself. You got to help yourself give more. And that's what Hero came about. And that's why I wear these hoodies, and the hoodies are still available on the website, SekouWrites.com. And I created this whole thing around this one man, and that's what happened.
That's a beautiful story. Hey guys, this is Dreamleapers with Harriette Cole. We are speaking with Sekou Writes. He has written a little book that has a lot of wisdom in it. Hack Your Pain Now. We just have a few minutes left, Sekou. I want you to share you've shared a lot of wisdom, but if there are people right now who are feeling not hopeful, what do you tell them to help them to believe that it's worth it to live another day?
Yeah. So I felt that way, and what I suggested is, I tried to find an answer. I was searching for an answer, looking over here, looking over there, looking for the right book, looking for the right something. Could not find it, and decided to create it because I couldn't find it. So my answer is the book. My answer is Hack Your Pain Now. Like, that is my short, quick, impactful thing that will get you up to the next level. Just up to the next level, because all of us have experienced some type of pain. All of us, and we're going to experience some more type of pain, right? And so this book is about getting past the pain, whatever your pain is, getting past it. And that's my full-fledged answer.
Well, and I'm going to say, because I just read it, it's a short book. And so I just read it. It is very moving. I mean, you can't just read it. You have reactions, and you are very strong. Just do this now. Like, before you get out of the bed, smile, even if you don't want to.
Yes.
And you are very strong.
You got to grind for it. You got to fight for it. You got to fight yourself for the energy to get up and do something, because the energy will wash over you. It's going to sweep you away, but you got to fight. You got to fight back. And that's what will get you through.
And we only talked about this a little bit, but the journey to full health recovery from stroke is much longer than most people imagine. And I'm just curious for you, because I know it remains a struggle. How do you stay positive when you have days where you're like, well, why is this still happening?
I think where I excel is other people reflecting back to me. Like, other people reflecting my story back to me helps me, because I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, there are times when I want to quit still.
Sure.
And the right side of my body, from the head of my head to the toes of my feet, is still in pain. My whole right side is still in pain. And I was waiting for that to dissipate. And it's been 2.5 years now. It's like, that's hard for me. But the fact that I do it, the fact that I run despite the fact that I'm still in pain, is really inspiring to people. Really inspiring to people, and their reflecting of me back to me is what helps me. That really helps me a lot.
So 2 very quick things. What day are you on now from running again after you started again?
877. That's post stroke. Now that's starting off with just trying to get around with the crate. But that's yeah.
And we have like 10 seconds left. Where can people watch your show? Where is it?
My show is every day on YouTube. Sekou Writes.
Okay, Sekou Writes. So you can watch Sekou's show on YouTube. You can read Sekou's book. It's available through Amazon. Hack Your Pain Now. Sekou, thank you for coming back. You've been a guest on the show many, many times. And I thank you for coming back now and sharing your story, and look forward to continuing the conversation. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thanks so much for having me, Harriette.
And thank you to all of you for tuning in. I hope that you were as moved as I. Hack Your Pain Now is something that will definitely help you to deal with whatever deep you're dealing with. It'll hold your hand while you're doing it. So you want to check that out. Until next time, have a great day and make it count.